Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Podchaser, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, and more. I am Dr. Marissa, your celebrity host producer of this show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, no K-words, no Kanye talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests to that end, and today's no exception. His name is Tony Childs, and he is just a delight. He sounds an awful lot like me, except he's white and bald, and he is my very special guest today when we come back after the break. But before that, you all know that I'm trying to work your muscle of focusing, choosing the best feeling thought all day long. So we start with taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich every show so that I can work that muscle. So instead of waking up and running to the bathroom and thinking and worrying about all the things you have to do, or worse, picking up the phone and swiping and scrolling through to find out what bad things happened all day while you were asleep, or people's opinions about things that really have nothing to do with your life, or looking for likes and approval, which is also not a useful exercise, because I want you to own and claim your birthright to happiness 88, which starts with approving of yourself. That's why taking a bite of your gratitude sandwich is 8 specific things, first thing in the morning, that you are grateful for. And then at the end of the night, things that you appreciate about yourself. So let's get started. I am grateful that there's technology so that I can come at you with a new show, even though I'm visiting my mom. She has Parkinson's. A lot of you know that. And so I'm in Toronto. First time since COVID hit to be able to go visit her. But I wanted to bring you great interviews. So just for you, I pre-recorded, and we have that great interview coming up. I am grateful for the taste of really good Chinese food, which is my favorite food, and that I went to one of my favorite restaurants downtown in Chinatown called Yang Chow's that has the best slippery shrimp, and I got a fortune cookie that had the word satisfaction in it. I had just been listening to Abraham as I was driving to go on location before I got to the restaurant, and guess what I was thinking about? Satisfaction. So that's 4, good timings 5. I got 3 great parking spots with money in the meter, so it was still green. That's 6 and 7. And then finally, I am grateful that I started this show now over 9 years ago, and that you're still here supporting me, and that you're here to start your day in the most positive way. And I'm super grateful for that. And after you finish the gratitudes, the end of the day is appreciation. And you know, I emphasize appreciation because we didn't learn it in school. We don't know that we're supposed to learn how to soothe ourselves and tell ourselves that we're, pretty good people, that we've done a pretty good job. We learn how to criticize ourselves very easily from people who are well-meaning, but sometimes they're more mean than well, and criticize us, and we pick up that habit. And that also leads to looking for love in all the wrong places, trying to find approval. So I call it going to the tractor for milk, which is trying to get approval from people who cannot give it. So encouraging you to work that muscle of appreciation. So before you go to bed, instead of thinking about all the things you didn't get done and all the things that you still need to do and who insulted you and what revenge to take, instead you get to appreciate yourself. So 8 things that you appreciate about yourself. I will do 3 this morning and let you finish tonight. I appreciate that I am creative. I put a new short film together during COVID, hashtag COVID silver lining, PPP, post-pandemic possibilities, that I'm encouraging you to go and watch so that you can go back to work with the most positive thought in place, and that I am musical. I love to write music and play. I'm a retired lounge lizard. I used to play in all the piano bars in Antwerpen, in Belgium, as well as in Hollywood and Santa Monica. So all of those I am appreciative of. And finally, I appreciate that I am loving 88% of the time. Not all the time. Sometimes I step into it. Sometimes I yell when I don't need to yell. Sometimes I criticize when I don't need to criticize. But most of the time, I am a loving person. So hopefully you have at least 3 things you can appreciate about yourself. If not, you might want to come work with me. I do free orientations the last Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. on Zoom. So you can talk about how to be happier. And I also have subscription-based as well as coaching packages that you could take advantage of. All of those on drmarissa.life, because I do want you to be happy 88% of the time. Not all the time, because we need some contrast. No such thing as 100% happy, but most of the time, 88%. Okay? And because I'm away doesn't mean that I'm not going to give you an Asian Oprah giveaway. The first person to go to drmarissa.life, and because we are talking about experiences in life today and gratitude, the one gratitude I didn't say that I usually do is my daughters, Chloe, May, and Sarah Way. They actually illustrated this children's book about feelings. And so I'm going to give you a download of this children's book as my Asian Oprah giveaway for the first person that goes to drmarissa.life. And when you join my Happy 88 family, put in the subject line, Happy Children. And then I'll know to send you the promo code so you can get your free children's book from me. All right? Okie dokie, that's it for the first portion, taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And I have a great interview for you today. His name is Tony Child, and he is just a delight. He sounds an awful lot like me, and from Canada. We have that in common. And I got to meet and interview him at Secret Knock in San Diego. You know that I get to be a speaker and also cover Greg Reed's red carpet and meet some fascinating people. If you missed my interview with the bailiff from Judge Judy, or my interview with Carol Baskin from Tiger King, you can get all of those on my YouTube channel. Free subscribe and enjoy them. And please do comment and know that I went in that interview with Carol thinking, like many people, that what Tiger Kings was insinuating, that she had buried her second husband by feeding him to the tigers. I admit that they made a pretty good case on camera in the show, but after interviewing her, I know that it's really amazing what you can do with part of the story. If you haven't already watched Joe versus Carol, it also gives some very interesting, true facts about what she's saying in the interview. So I'll let you decide that. But today We're going to learn from Tony Child. He's the founder and owner of Elevated Worldwide. So don't go away. We'll be right back with Tony's interview here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Before we get to that interview, we had a little time on today's show, so I thought I would play for you my new short film. It is called PPP, Post-Pandemic Possibilities. You've been messaging me, where can I get the video? And I thought, you know what? It's my show. I'm actually going to show the video to you on the air so that you can see it as Seth Greenleaf, one of my past guests and new friend, filmmaker, who reviewed the film and said, it's like a vitamin B12 shot for more hope and happiness. So, enjoy.
It's been a tough, horrible, unanticipated, unprepared for, crappy year called the pandemic. But before we rush back to normal, a normal where there were a lot of overworked, underpaid, angry, frustrated, and depressed people who hated their jobs and lived for their weekends, can we consider a new normal? Take a breath with me. And consider a new PPP, post-pandemic possibilities. What if conforming to the world was exploring the world? What if the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, little girl, turns into, how many streets of life do you want to explore? What if there was another way to grow up believing in yourself so that you don't have to attend the school of hard knocks? What if the current push to do well in subjects that you are not good at, or choose a school that you can't afford, or to declare a major when you are still a minor in life are not the pressures that cook us raw? What if there was another career path where words like rat race and dog eat dog and climbing or clawing our way to the top are not in our career ladder vocabulary? What if big business control and imbalance resulting in people stuck in jobs they hate, contributing to dreams that are not their own, were BS belief systems that had to be called out? Like cookies that had to be deleted in our mind browser. What if the lesson in the pandemic is that the trajectory that we have been on needs a hard reset? What if the real virus in our society is currently structured to help a few and hurt many? What if we could say, help our own and help others in the same breath? What if we grew up with global patriotism instead of warring nationalism, and not afraid of helping socialism? What if we were taught how to see past skin color and learn how to value others for who they are? What if you were taught how to value who you are, especially when value was not found growing up at home? What if I knew I was important without anyone telling me? What if I knew that I was of value so that I didn't have to go around asking people to appraise me? What if world peace started with an okayness with ourselves, who we are, and what we think in the imperfect, perfect persona that we splatter on this world? What if we learned self-care skills so that we wouldn't thrash about so much when we were in the middle of the dis-ease with life? What if we could care for others without hurting myself? What if we valued ourselves enough to take care of our own selves, our body, our mind, and our soul? What if we each took responsibility for our own choices and quit blaming others when we insist on dragging our past along with us as an excuse to behave badly? What if we learned relationship skills as soon as we learned addition, subtraction, and how to dissect a frog? What if we knew that all life was valuable, even when we disagreed on how people were living? What if we cut people some more slack when we know they should know better, but because of their own humanness, they temporarily missed a take? What if the purpose of life is not to die with the most toys to leave our squabbling relatives? What if the purpose of life was to do things that we enjoy most of the time, have relationships that we enjoy most of the time, and use our unique talents, gifts, and abilities to fully express in the dash between birth and death? What if there is nothing to be afraid of? What if everything that happens to us is for our divine and best good, even if it doesn't feel good? What if death is not that big of a deal? What if the concept of death is not the hill we want to die on? What if tragedy is not really tragic? What if people dying in tragedy has purpose in releasing more love that we may have trapped inside our minds and our bodies? What if challenges that we face because of skin color or physical limitations or gender or our differences are all conditions that can grow and chisel and elevate us into the most magnificent of sculptures? What if I can turn every single bad, shitty thing that ever happened to me into rich fertilizer to birth and grow all of the potential that I was born with? What if life does not suck? What if I knew I was one of a kind wonderful, that I had a unique gift, talent, and ability to unleash on life one glorious year, day, month, and season of life? What if, as a direct result of this horrible pandemic, we could rise out of the ashes with the new PPP, post-pandemic possibilities? Well, you can. You can rise. You can live in my what if. It just starts with choosing happiness, choosing to love this thing called life, and drop the rock of BS belief systems that have tricked you into thinking that you are not enough. Because all of this is possible if you choose to believe in you first and foremost, because the buck stops right over here. With you, with me, and with us. The sooner you turn, it's impossible, to I'm possible, the what ifs become possible too. Because you are loving, lovable, and loved wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness. But it may start with getting out of bed and making it. What if starts with you. Hi, I'm Dr. Marissa, broadcasting live from this thing called life, trying to get you to drink my rose-colored Kool-Aid and join my Happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years.
Did you enjoy that? I hope you did. I'm grateful. I just got invited to submit to another film festival. I already have one laurel. Not bad for your first short film. And I also have some questions to follow because there's a lot of themes in there. And one of the themes is a topic that I actually used to write a column in the Sun newspaper where I raised both my kids in Seal Beach. And I'll never forget the day I walked into one of the stores on Main Street and the woman at the register recognized me and pulled out my column and said, "We love this column that you wrote about schools and how schools really are not changing enough to reflect what kids really need. Kids really don't need to be learning subjects that they don't understand how that might help them or hurt them in life, nor is asking them to pick a major before they are a major in life and they're still a minor." Remember that line. How that hurts kids in their development process. So what if it was possible to experiment and try different things and be told that you can do more than one thing and be told that you don't have to be stuck in a job that you hate and only live for your weekends. So those are the kinds of themes that I actually bring forth after the film to talk to people about so they get in that expansive, solution-based creativity, enhancing mindset while they go back into their job. So this is a tremendous opportunity for businesses. Before you go, you have to come back to work, you have to come sit in an office in a cubicle that you hated before, which is probably why a lot of people are not going back to work. But it's a chance to say, okay, before we go back to normal, let's examine the processes and the systems at our workplace. Are they working for us? And is something new, or can we look with new eyes at the way we're doing things? Is there a way to instill less stress and more joy? Is there a way to enhance relationships which actually support the task? People often ask me as leaders, why is it so difficult? It's not rocket science. Why don't people just do what they're supposed to do? And the answer is getting things done is actually a task supported by relationships. So you can't get things done if you have shirty relationships at work. It's not the lovey-dovey kind of relationships, but respect, mutual goals, mutual vision, mutual admiration, mutual understanding. Those relationships are what is missing in many, many organizations that I work with, and therefore it's difficult to get the job done, the task done, the goals met. Can you tell I'm an organizational psychologist? So hopefully you'll take this opportunity to contact me at drmarissa.life and bring me into your workplace to talk about how to move into post-pandemic possibilities with Dr. Marissa. And now, without further ado, I have my interview with Tony Child from Elevated Worldwide to speak to you about how you can be happy 88% of the time. When we come back here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Impact Your Life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Amazon Music, Audible, Tiki Live, and Rumble. I mean, just all these places. Why? Because I want the maximum splatter zone for more hope and happiness for you. So I bring topics and guests to that end. And today is no exception. I'm actually on location, hashtag Dr. Marissa, reporting live in San Diego. And I've met some really interesting people at Secret Knock this year. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to bring them to the studio. So that's what we're doing now. And as per usual, the way that I like you to meet my guess is I don't have an answering machine. Yeah. I have a questioning machine. And when you call me, it says, who are you and what do you want? So, sir, who are you and what do you want?
All right. My name is Tony Child, and I own a company called Elevate Worldwide and do positive psychology and really law of attraction work all over the world. I've taken the law of attraction and positive psychology, and I've combined these two worlds together. And what I want is I want to impact 1 million people by 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm on a Happy 88 mission. I don't know if you knew, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. So it used to be 8 million, but I hit that already because I was on TV in China and the Philippines. But we now have a joint goal, so you can count some of mine, I can count some of yours.
Good. I love it. Let's do it. Let's joint count.
Absolutely. So for those who are not versed in law of attraction or positive psychology, although if you've been listening at all to me over this last 8 years, you should know something. But just in case we have new ones, let's start at the bottom, not the bottom, but the baseline. When you say law of attraction, what do you mean? And when you say positive psychology, what do you mean?
So when I say law of attraction, you attract not what you want, but you attract who you are. That's the first thing I would say with the law of attraction. So who am I being? That's what I'm attracting to my life, that we are energetic beings and that this energy is always in motion. It's never stopping. Positive psychology is that the way I see things is the things I will see. So how I see the world is the world that I will it's the world that I'll see. It's what I'll be able to have in the world. So combining these two worlds together has been my mission of saying, okay, how I see the world is going to dictate what I see in the world, and who I am is going to determine what I attract.
Did you grow up thinking you would be talking about this stuff?
No way. Not a chance. I grew up in a very poor household. My mother had MS, woke up one morning paralyzed from the neck down, not told she would not live, told she wouldn't have any more kids. And then I was born 2 years later. So she did live, she did have kids. She died when I was 16. And so today, if you would have told me then that I would be doing what I'm doing now, I had no idea this world even existed. When I was a kid, I was really good at math. And so I went and became a banker for 15 years. And I was in corporate banking, retail banking, and was sent around to different workshops. And one of the workshops that I was sent to over a decade ago was positive psychology out of Harvard. And so the person got up in the front of the room and in essence she said, if you change the way you see things, the things you see will change. And I laughed out loud and I told my boss I wanted to leave because I thought that was so stupid. But and then she said, if you want to get fired, you'll leave. And I was like, all right, I don't want to get fired, so I'll stay. And the next 3 hours changed my life. Yeah, so I quit banking, changed my degrees, changed everything, sought out some of the best minds in the world to teach me and coach me and train me. And it was Bob Proctor who came to me and said, Tony, do you want to make your annual income your monthly income? And I laughed at him and I said, that's impossible. And little did I know, 3 years later after working with him, that my annual income became my monthly income.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. And you all know that I had, let's pause for a second. This is a good internal mic, but just in case, I'm going to try to let that, I don't want to fight it. Hold this for me. I'm going to shut that down. Strong signal, right? Okay, where were we? You had finished
my annual income, my income,
right, that's right.
My annual income,
that's
my
right.
monthly income.
And those of you remember, I had Bob Proctor on my show, so when he shared, that's where he was being trained from. That's another reason I thought, we have to make this connection.
Yeah.
So you mentioned other teachers beside Bob. Who else influenced you?
Yeah, so John Maxwell, he's been a major influence in my life. Mark Cole, who runs everything, John Maxwell, he's mentored me and coached me. Paul Sheely. Paul Sheely does a lot of work he did a lot of work with Tony Robbins. I hired him a few years ago, and he really dug deep into me. And now I hire high-level coaches that most people have no clue who they are, but these are the coaches that the coaches hire. So most people don't know who they are, but they're the ones that really help the coaches do their work.
So do you always practice this positive law of attraction? Like 100% of the time?
No. And anybody that says that they do, they're lying to you, because we're human. And there's going to be times where we're stuck in the mud. There's going to be times where we feel sadness, where we feel depression, where we feel anxiety. It just depends on how long you stay there. And so, but to tell somebody that I am 100% positive, never negative, that's impossible.
Okay. So what's a normal amount of time to stay in that negative state before you talk yourself out of it? Only because I'm also a student of law of attraction from Abraham Hicks, and hers is 16 seconds.
Yep.
And so I really try to follow that myself. I jump up and down and growl and scream if I, am somewhere private.
Yep.
And then on the 17th second, I have a blissipline that says, I can't wait to see what good comes out of this. And I use that to flip myself out of all the negative stuff. What do you do?
So something very similar. I'll give you an example of what I do. So last week I had my Instagram hacked into. And it took me about 3 minutes to get over it. And most people, they'll allow that to control their day. It'll control their week. It'll control their month. They'll be angry about it. They'll be upset about it. And so after about 3 minutes, all right, it's done. And I wonder what's going to come from this. The two words I use all the time are I wonder. I use that all the time. I wonder why I'm sitting next to this person. I wonder why this person's in front of me at the line. I wonder why I wonder why he just cut me off. I wonder why. And when we can stay in a state of wonderment, it allows us to just move through the negative emotions or the negative parts of life.
So, absolutely, we're on the same page. And why is it important then to move off of talking about all the negative? So that's one thing. You could have told everybody that day, which is usually when some shift happens,
yes,
when bad things happen to good people, we have a tendency to, you're never going to believe what happened to me, or call someone up and and beat their boohoo story, or continue to talk about it, and I wonder what else is, or when is the other shoe going to drop. So those are habits that lead us into constant negative thinking, which brings constant negative things.
Yes.
Is that?
Yes, and life will keep teaching you a lesson until you learn the lesson. And so you'll keep getting it repeated and repeated and repeated in your life until it's like, oh, I learned that lesson. So do you know how long it took me to learn the lesson of being hacked on Instagram? 12 hours. I had my account back in 12 hours. That's the fastest I think anybody's ever gotten their account back from Instagram. Like, it just doesn't happen that fast. But I was able to release it. I was able to move on with my day. In fact, I was able to teach on it, about the positive aspects of it. I went to my communities and I taught about positive aspects of losing your Instagram account. And the moment I did that, like, I had it back. And so life was done teaching me about how to get your account hacked and get it back. Like, it's like, oh, you learned a lesson. You learned it in 12 hours instead of 12 months or 12 years.
Yeah. What lesson is that? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's so for me, it's like I was open. It's like, okay, so I wonder if I needed to completely let go of my Instagram account because there's a new following I need to create, or there's something else that needed to come in to replace that. And so for me, I always believe that if something leaves my life, it's making room for something better. Always. And so, like, if something is removed, Instagram removed from my life, it's like, okay, I wonder what better is going to replace it. I wonder what better is going to come into my life because that's now gone. Well, it came back, so it's like that was the better, but I was willing to be open to whatever better was. Most people are not open.
And let's talk about most people. When people come to you and ask for coaching, or if you're looking right now, we're like almost through the pandemic. I'm not quite sure if we're like fully out, like a turtle peeking its head out.
Yeah.
What are some common potholes that people have in their lives that are a direct result of not practicing this stuff?
Yes. So even the people that practice this stuff. So here's where I got to in my, when I was with some of the very greats, is I would get into rooms with hundreds of people and they would be practicing personal development, but nothing was happening. And it was like, why is it not happening for them? Why is it happening for me? Why is it not happening for them? That was my question. And I kept asking the question. Well, I believe that if you ask, you receive an answer. And the answer that I got is this: if you are stuck in lack, it is impossible to build more. So if a person is stuck in an idea that there is not enough and that they're not enough, then nothing will work. No personal development will work. So what I found is that as people go through programs, they believe all the program that they're heard, like, man, this is awesome, this is amazing, but deep down inside, they don't feel worthy of the new life they could create. They're not good enough. They're not strong enough. They're not courageous enough. It's for somebody else. And this constant tape in the head of I'm not enough continues to produce not enough. It doesn't matter what other work you do. Until you heal that, until you work through that, you will continue to receive not enough in your life. So the biggest pitfall that I see with people is the land of lack. It's the land of I'm not enough.
I do work with the 7 out of 10 of us who have gone through childhood trauma, and that tape is stronger in us because we've had people literally tell us that we're not good enough and we're not worthy and who do you think you are and you'll never get it. So for that group of people, is there another level of help that can break through that?
Yes, it's called therapy. And this is where a lot of coaches will look down on therapists and a lot of therapists will look down on coaches, and they're both needed in the industry. And I believe that good therapy can help people heal from trauma. So I look at life as a continuum, and I look at life as like death and complete life, and enlightenment, as you could say. Most people are living right next to death. They're waiting to die. And they have this trauma that keeps coming up, and they can't thrive. They can't even get to what's called normal. And so they believe that they're broken. They believe all of these things that have happened to them, and rightfully so. There are a lot of things that have happened to them. But when you go to therapy, you learned what happened for you and how did that work for you instead of to you. And so therapy allows you to do that. It also allows you to process the emotions that you probably should have felt when you were that kid or that little girl or that little boy that you never did, you stuffed. And kids are brilliant. They're perfect. And they're these perfect beings that are brought into the planet, and they know how to process emotion. If a child gets hurt, what do? They cry. And if you don't fix their crying, what do? They yell. And if you don't fix their crying and yelling, they throw a full-on temper tantrum. And what they're doing, though, is they're moving energy through their body. It's natural. They're moving the energy through their body. It's called catharsis. Cathartic work is a really deep work in psychology world. And they're moving the energy through their body naturally. Well, when a parent looks at a child that is crying or yelling or throwing a temper tantrum, what does the normal parent do to the child? Stop it.
Yeah.
We don't cry. We're not crybabies. We don't yell. We don't do these things. And so from a very small age, the child thought, oh no, I'm not given permission to share my emotions. I have to stuff them. And they keep stuffing them. And that's what builds trauma in the body. That's what's build like negative emotion pockets in the body, negative energies in the body, is this the continual stuffing of emotion that is not healthy.
Did you go through that yourself?
I did. Yeah, I stuffed emotions for a long, long time until I, went through therapy myself and learned how to release in a proper way. And some of it was very cathartic. Some of it I, yelled into a pillow, and I really released a lot of that negative energy that was built.
Yeah, I took a plastic bat to a vinyl couch.
Yes. Yes.
Very, very cathartic.
Yes.
I had a good time.
Yes. It's awesome. Yeah. And again, it's just going back and saying, what are some of the emotions that I held on to? If you were abused, if you were physically abused, emotionally abused, sexually abused, what decisions did you make about your life at that moment in time that then control you at 54 or 50, 60, 80 years old?
I call it midlife opportunity instead of midlife crisis.
Yes. To just go back and reassess and say, why do I think that? Why do I believe that about life and about me?
So you're saying that if people are not being prosperous, if people are not allowing good things to happen to them, that it's basically a deep-seated BS belief system that says that I'm not worthy of that. Now, I know some people who say, "Oh no, I love myself. And I'm still, struggling. I'm in debt." What's that hook, or where do we turn that lever?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that get mixed up in this idea of self-love, and they think that I've got to affirm myself that I love myself. I've got to go show myself that I love myself. I got to go get the pedicure and the manicure, and I got to go do all the things, and I got to buy all the stuff because then it will show myself that I love myself. And what I believe self-love is finding the part of self that loves.
Oh, I like that. I love learning new things.
Finding the part of self that loves. So where is that part of self that stopped loving? And so the person that says, well, I'm affirming it, I'm doing it, but it's not coming, it's because you haven't found the part of self that loves. You haven't remembered that part of you. And we in life, we go on these journeys to become something. It's like, well, I'm going to become more courageous, or I'm going to become braver, or I'm going to become richer, or whatever it is. And when you realize that the perfect child that you were born with, that was brave, that was courageous, that was loving and forgiving and quick to forgive and quick to believe and believed in everything, that little child is still in there. That is perfection. So life is not about becoming something you're not. Life is all about remembering who I am. And part of that remembering is finding the part of self that loves, and loves unconditionally, and loves perfectly.
I got a little tingle going there. So how does this interface with religion, spirituality, all of that?
Yeah. So I am spiritual and religious. And so there are a lot of people that get into this spirituality that drop religion. I believe that religion is a vehicle with which people can practice spirituality if they can learn how to do it without shame and without guilt. Those are the two things that religion can do very big damage to, is when I get into this idea that because I did something, I am no longer worthy of it or worth it. And I take the example of like a $100 bill. If I take a $100 bill and I take it outside and I put it in the mud and I stomp on it and I write on it, I write vulgar things on it, what's its worth?
Still $1.
Yeah, it's still it's a $100 bill, so it's still 100, right? Yeah. It didn't go down. Hopefully, it didn't go down to a dollar in value. Yeah. That it stayed at $100. And that's yes, it needs to be brushed off. Yes, it needs to be cleaned up. But the point is it's still worth $100. And the things that we do in life, it's for our lessons. What am I learning? And how is this happening for me instead of to me?
I use that all the time. It's funny hearing it. I just interviewed somebody else. She used it too. I'm like, well, the whole world is finally getting on the same page about past pain. Yes. That we don't need to, pain in life is mandatory, suffering is optional. Yes. But this is not the message that the majority of us have learned. So we're definitely, we're doing our work.
But now, spirituality is a belief that there is something greater than me, a power that I can tap into that is so far superior to anything on this universe that when you tap into it, it is beautiful and amazing and can create incredible things in your life. And you just have to match it. And so it's just, who am I being that I'm not able to access that? See, I believe that Albert Einstein got it right. Albert Einstein said that life is about answering one question.
This is one I used to, but go ahead.
And that is, do I live in a friendly or a hostile universe?
I use that in my talks, and it's like, are you my twin or something? Because literally your top points are exactly what I think is important. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, so if I believe I live in a hostile universe, then I will continue to get hostility in my life. It's called confirmation bias. I have a bias. Everyone has a bias towards their beliefs, and life will keep showing me what I believe. So if I believe that I live in a very bad and dangerous and hostile universe that's out to get me, then I will literally see all of the examples coming at me of how the universe is out to get me and how it's unlucky. But if I believe I live in a friendly universe, that everything is happening for me, that it's beautiful and amazing, then I am lucky and everything is happening beautifully in my life.
I use, when I wake up in the morning, the fact that the planets did not crash into each other and I'm here is a great example of how friendly my universe is. And I don't know if you've heard this one, but I am allergic to religion, so I have not mixed the two because I grew up in a really tough one that had a lot of shame and guilt. But I say that I read this, I think, in a book, and I can't give credit because I forget the name of the book, but it said, religion is for people who want to avoid going to hell, and spirituality is for those of us who've already been there. I figured you would like that, right? Yeah. Right? So absolutely, and I 1000% concur with you. I can choose to think that I am a lonely existence out on a desert island, disconnected with everyone and everything, and screw you. Or I have a choice to say that my higher power, or that power greater than me, I call him my UPS man, my universal power source, who delivers every morning when I pray and meditate. So that's my understanding. But I'm glad that you straightened that out.
Yeah, and I would add one more thing. Prayer, meditation, and gratitude. See, when I live in a hostile universe, I'm looking for everything that's missing. When I live in a friendly universe, I'm grateful for everything that's present. And when I can get into the vibration of appreciation, It's the highest vibration that there is. And when I start appreciating the universe will appreciate me. And it appreciates me by giving me whatever it is that I want.
So if someone is resonating with what you're saying, and if someone's really not seeing the abundance that they want, how do they find you?
Yeah, so you can go to keepelevated.com. You can go to tonychild.com. You can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm on all the social platforms, TikTok. If you need just little 1-minute blurbs, we're doing reels and we're doing TikTok videos, and so
I'm on it too. I don't tell my daughters.
Yeah, it's not all about dancing and singing. It's you can get some great stuff
Beautiful.
on all
and
those
it's
platforms.
CHILDS.
CHILD, no S.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm glad that we
CHILD.
clarified that. This is Tony Child. I hope I've gotten nuggets from him, and how you can apply and show that you do not have to live behind that lack and limitation mentality. Thank you so much for coming in, and I wish you the very best. Do you have books that you've written or anything people can pick up?
Yes, we are just in the process of getting our first book published. I do have 12 programs that I've published, and so there's monthly programs we put people through. But our first book is going to be published. It's called Vision Shift. So
Vision Shift. Are you
Yep.
doing it with Greg?
No, so I've got some other strategists that we're doing it with. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, so this is Dr. Marissa reporting live on location at Secret Knock with a wonderful guest, Tony Child. Go check him out, and I'm going to ask you, I forgot. Last question that I usually ask my guests is, to who or what are you most grateful for? Which is interesting because you talked about the gratitude.
Yeah. For me, I'm grateful for my understanding of gratitude. I wake up every day just grateful that I understand gratitude at such a deep level that it literally transforms my life daily. I'm grateful for my eyes that see the mountains right in my backyard. I'm grateful for my ears that hear the giggles of my sons every day. Like, I try my hardest to live in gratitude every moment of every day.
I have a little tool called Take a Bite of My Gratitude Sandwich.
Yes.
So, right there with ya. All right, this is what I do at the end of every show. If you take your peace fingers and say, it's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Thank you so much. Now go forth and multiply the abundance that you are. And remember, have the best day ever. Keep it tuned to Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. Great.
Beautiful.
It's a wrap.